Hello there, it's me again. I am here with my new hourglass that I got to tell me what an hour looks like. Got a lovely roaring fire on, my dog's curled up round my feet. I've got a cup of tea on and a vape, freshly filled. Some of you hate this. I get it. Vapes are kind of grown-up dummies, aren't they? I mean, that's exactly what they are. The pacifiers. Gives you something to do to stop you getting the chainsaw out the garage and going to town. I'll start before I go on. Thank you so much. There was a little bit of a mess around with Patreon. Oh, I just saw an orb. That side. That's bollocks. I can't do the reverse camera thing. Anyway, there was an orb on that side. I just saw. Rewind it and see if you can see it. Right, yeah, there was a bit of a fuck around with Patreon. I'm sorry about that. It was out of our control. We got hacked by a hater. And I've always thought that haters are a good sign, especially when they're trying to fuck with you technologically. That's a lot of attention when you think about it. I mean, it takes a lot of attention to get up in the morning and think, I'm going to track him down, I'm going to write something, and then I'm going to send it. I mean, I've got to admit, I never, ever, ever get up in the morning and want to do that. But I also know that it's not my life that's making these people unhappy. It's their life. And I hope that hating me, or pretending to hate me, because I don't think you hate me, because you don't know me. I mean, none of you haters have actually met me. But, you know, if that makes you happy, then I'm glad. Some of them are funny. Some of the YouTube comments are brilliant. I got one of them I loved. It called me the loon from the tune, which I thought was fucking brilliant. There's also someone else saying, I'm not going to buy the album because I don't like this song. If you're the sort of person that won't listen to an album because of a song, then we're probably not going to get on. You're not going to like the Wildhearts for a start, because you can never really dictate what a Wildhearts album's like because of one song, because there's something punk, something pop, something thrash, something weird on every album. All I can think is that you've never heard any of the albums. Anyway, well, you've probably heard the album by the time you see this. Heading in with Barry. And Barry is saying, I was just wondering as to whether there will be any more acoustic albums or shit releases. And is there any chance of another album like Teeth? Barry, have you heard Mutation? Because Mutation is a lot in the spirit of Teeth. That took my favourite kind of noisy music, not just punk, but my favourite industrial, my favourite thrash and hardcore, noisecore. Maybe you want to check out the Mutation thing. Will there be another acoustic album or shit? No. And I'll tell you for why. Because my life was in a different place back then, but I was paying for a mortgage and I wasn't making enough money. So I was literally going in to do the acoustic albums. I hate wearing fucking glasses on these, but I can't read without them. I need to take one lens out. That's what I need to do. Yeah, I was doing them albums because I needed the money. I mean, basically, I was going in the studio on the Monday, recording them, finishing them by the Wednesday, putting them on sale on the Friday, and it was paying for our mortgage. I've done things like that for money. I mean, there's things that obviously I won't do for money, you know, a myriad things I won't do for money. But making music, yes, I will do that for money. I will, you know, recording albums. I'll tell you the story about Teeth. This is funny. Teeth was originally recorded because I want to be teeth fixed. My teeth are fucked. They've been bashed up against microphones for the last 30 years and they're absolutely fucked. And I would love to get my teeth fixed. So that's what Teeth was supposed to be. Came out, well, was skint again. So all the money from Teeth went to pay the mortgage. Again, I'll do that at a push, but I'd rather not. And now I've got myself in a position where I don't have to do that. Will there be another acoustic albums? I'll tell you what I would like to do. I'd like to put them in a box and sell them as a box set. And I think I only did 4. So maybe I will have to do another one. This is from Jen. What's your favourite place to go on holiday? I don't go on holiday. In fact, my last holiday must have been 20 years ago. Yeah, because I was trying for a baby with my partner at the time. So, yeah, 20 years ago. I don't go on holiday. I like to, but A, you know, I've been busy. And then, you know, B, the other scenario is I've been skint. So either, like life, you've got the money and you've got no time, or you've got the time and no money. And thirdly, and largely, because I've got Maggie now, I've got my dog. And the idea of going away without her just doesn't really interest me at all. I would love to go on a cruise. I know it sounds a little bit weird, but I'd love to go on a Nile cruise. Maybe one day I'll get the urge and I'll leave Maggie with her mum and go on a Nile cruise. But I'd love to get, go and see the Sphinx and the pyramids and the Altar of the Kings and all that. I'd like that. But as far as holidays, I treat going back to Japan and seeing my friends in Japan as a holiday because it's such a culture shock. There's literally, that much. 5% of it is a bit like our culture. But if you dig in, you'll find that the whole culture is completely different. There's a dark side to Japanese business that I've realised is a little bit uncompromising and you've got to be wary of. And there's also a dark side in Japan, especially places like Roppongi and Tokyo, where the drug dealers have moved in. The drug dealers are not Japanese, so you can tell them a mile off. And it's got a little bit kind of violent. I've been there a couple of times when it's got a little bit aggy and I've had to stand up, and which has never been the case in Japan. So especially in Tokyo, I used to love the fact that girls could walk the streets then in safety. Anytime, day or night, they could walk around by themselves and they wouldn't get hurt. Now I'm not so sure, and that gives me pause for concern. But, regardless of that, that's probably my favourite holiday because I love Japan, love the food, obviously. I love to travel around Japan. Oh, a fantastic place. This one is from Davey. Is there a type of music that you like that would surprise us? I'm not sure that there's any music that I like that I haven't kind of wore on my sleeve or recorded versions of. There's not much I don't like. I don't really like reggae, considering I've got the haircut, which is another cultural appropriation or cultural misappropriation. The name dreadlock came from Jamaica. The style dreadlock came from the Celts, who came to my neck of the woods, the north of England, Scotland and Newcastle. So it's my haircut, not fucking Jamaican's haircut. So there's no cultural misappropriation here. And I try not to call them dreadlocks because that is Jamaican. I'm not that keen on reggae. I'm not that keen on blues. I used to like playing it, but then it got a little bit wanky because you're just doing pentatonic scales a lot of the time. So I got bored with that. I don't listen to blues. I can't think of anything. I mean, I like dance music, but you probably know that. I like country, but it's probably obvious. I'm a big sucker for ballads, rock ballads. I like rock ballads. Maybe you don't know that. I love a good rock ballad, Journey, Boston, even some 80s stuff, Kicks ballads. I love Kicks ballads. Don't Close Your Eyes and Walking Away and stuff like that. Maybe that would surprise a few people. I like a good rock ballad. Angel did really good rock ballads. The Babies, really good rock ballads there. Yeah, I'm not fond of metal. That's a music I'm not really keen on. I think the lyrics range from vacuous to misogynistic, and although I can deal with vacuous, it loses me when it goes into fantasy. I can't be doing with dragons and all that sort of stuff and castles on mountains and stuff. So I never got into things like Dio and Rainbow and stuff, though I think he's fantastic, obviously. His voice is amazing, and I love Butterfly Ball, and he sang the title song in that. But yeah, I don't know if there's any music that I like that would shock anyone. I like queercore, I like queer dance, but then I've made a big deal about that in the past. Wore me Arcs t-shirt, because I think they're brilliant at doing it at the moment. So no, don't think there's any musical genres that I like that would surprise you. This one's from Charlie. Without naming names, unless you want to, it's probably don't. What was the one thing that a fellow band member did that really pissed you off? It's a podcast in itself. The thing is, I would never even say what someone had done to piss me off, let alone naming them, because I've done loads of things that have pissed people off as well, and let you cast the first stone and all that. I've done a lot of things that have pissed people off, so I couldn't say that anyone's really done it to me to the extent that I would throw them under a bus or anything like that. I mean, there's things that people do that really piss me off as a writer, like going to the studio and not having learned the songs. I mean, that's a bit of an insult. When you're like, okay, I don't mind writing all the songs, but the least you could do is learn them. Don't understand why anyone would want to go in the studio unprepared, unless you were a brilliant at jamming, at improvising. If you were really good at improvising, I would advise you don't go in the studio learning too much. But the people I'm talking about weren't very good at improvising. That pissed me off. Yeah, with Hey Hello. It pissed me off when Victoria decided that she couldn't do it because she wanted money and there was no money. It pissed me off when we'd recorded the album with Hollis and then she decided that she didn't want to live in England. She moved to LA. But stuff like that, it pisses you off at the time, especially with Hey Hello, because we lost a fortune and never did gain it back. But I mean, that's the pitfalls of being an independent label. So yeah, nothing that I'd look back and think that it was really that bad. No, not really. It annoyed me at the time, but not really that much. What happened? In that, in keeping with that last answer, Matt Bradley from Stockport. What happened with the Sinners? Was it an amicable split? Is there any chance of a second album one day, or is that ship well and truly sailed? It's amicable in as much as still talk to the guys. Nothing against the guys at all. Completely understand their side of the problem as it became. I still see Shane when I go to see Ben play with Warner Hodges. I love Shane. Still talk to Neil. Don't keep in touch with Nick, even though Nick was, really, probably the person I was closest to in the band. Don't know why that is. It happens, But is a chance of a second album, or has that ship sailed? Absolutely has sailed as far as I can see. Why did you break up? Because before we went to do the second album, or maybe we'd started I think we started recording it because that was round about the end of COVID. But before we went in and finished it off, the band wanted a contract with Round Records. Now, Round Records don't do contracts, so there's no safety for any band, and we never worked with bands really, but there's no safety for any bands, and there's no safety to us if any bands fall apart. We lost a fortune on the Sinners, we lost a fortune on Hey Hello, but we don't have no independent labels have contracts, do they? I thought that was something that the blood-sucking, cock-gobbling corporates only did. But no, there was no contract, so we kind of fell apart before we did the second album. The tour ended up in a terrible place. I was in an awful place and I was drinking heavily and I just lost it all one night. Don't blame them for not really wanting to work with me after that. For a lot of people, someone losing it one night is enough to go, no, never again. Some people understand that mental health problems will arise. I'm working with people now that have seen mental health problems and they're like, it's okay, we'll be patient, we'll wait for you to get through it. But I understand if someone can't, or if a band can't, or if it just seems like, I'm doing it because I'm having a diva strop or something. And one of the more important differentiations between someone having a diva strop and someone having a mental health episode is the people around them. If you can just be patient with people who are struggling, they will come through and they will go back to being the way that they always are. You've got to remember, if you are going to work with someone with a mental health problem, there's nothing in it for them. They're not doing this for attention. A lot of the time, as Robin Williams said, people don't pretend to have mental health problems. They pretend to be normal. Word to the wise, from God's lips to your ears, which is one of my favourite phrases. I first heard Ian Winwood tell me that, and I loved it. But anyway, that's why I probably won't do the Sinners, because it didn't end up in a terrible thing. It just ended up kind of disappointing. Just fell apart. It happens. It happens. David A. asks, what was it like playing with Paul Gilbert on the Japanese TV rock station back in 1998? Was that 98? Fuck me. It was great. Paul Gilbert, I'll put this in a fairly large nutshell. I hated Mr. Big. That I'm the one who wants to be with you. Was that them? Or was the other one? More Than Words. One of them two. Oh, hated it. Now, there's rock ballads that I like, and then there's acoustic rock ballads that I can't stand. I think I'm allergic to them. I hated Mr. Big, and there was something about Paul Gilbert that I didn't like, and I don't know what it was, because I was mixing the live album, Tokyo Suits Me, in Japan. He was in Japan. He came down, which just proves how wrong you can be about a person if you have any prejudgment, or any judgment at all. I used to be a wanker, what can I say? But anyway, he knew the people I was working with, and he said, I'm coming down. And I was like, tell him not to come to the studio. A, I'm working, and B, I don't like Mr. Big. He turned up, and I couldn't avoid it. And as great luck would have it, he was just absolutely unhateable. He was the loveliest fella, one of the loveliest fellas I've ever met. He was so nice and so gracious, so generous with his time. But not only that, he proved to be so generous with his money as well, because I was broke at the time. There's a thread going through my life where I tend to be broke a lot. He was doing Masahito's rock show, and I wasn't even booked to play. And he went, come on, jump in the taxi, we'll go and play. I've got an extra acoustic guitar, we'll go and do it. He was teaching me some of his songs in the car on the way there. The rest of it, we just jammed a bunch of stuff. He's good at jamming with my stuff. I was good at jamming with his stuff, and we got through a little set, and apparently people enjoyed it. The main part of the story happened backstage when we were just sitting there after the show, and the dressing room was full of luminaries, music business, the professionals, the guys that run businesses, don't just work in the businesses. These guys have got money. So we had the guitar case open and we were saying, come on, what do you want to hear? And they would say, Stairway to Heaven. Chuck a load of money in, we'd play it. Next one would be like, whatever, some standard. And we'd play it. One of us knew the lyrics, I'd harmonise. There was a lot of money in the guitar case. And I was just like, it's going to fucking come in handy if he gives me any of that. Turned out Paul had got up while I was busy talking to everyone, and he'd left to the airport and left all the money. And I just thought, like, I already had fallen in love with him at this point, and I just thought this was such a thoughtful gesture, such a beautiful man thing to do. And I've been in love with the guy ever since. So that's my Paul Gilbert story. I don't know who this is from. I haven't got a name here. I'm so sorry, but you said you were big into UFOs on the last Basque of Ask podcast. Have you checked out Tom DeLonge's book? I won't read Tom DeLonge's book because I suspect, I'm going to go into it a little bit, and I hope that someone asks me to go in deeper, but I suspect that there's a narrative about UFOs that's been happening since at least when they started engaging in World War II. It was about 1942. The records go back to about 1930, but I reckon that World War II was probably part of the reason why they started engaging with us. I've got hours to go in with this. I go really deep into this. But anyway, long story short, I think there was a narrative established by the American officials to structure and steer the story in a way that would distract the public. So anything we know about UFO, I think is bullshit. I think it's a story that's been generated to steer the public interest. This is what they do with everything. The media does this. Of course, it comes from the government. It comes from people above the government, let's face it. I don't think that they're obviously travelling from other planets. I don't even think that the things that we see in the sky are man-made. I think it's from a blueprint of a craft that was put here, but I think that this goes deep. I'm not going to go right into it, but I imagine that they come from the 4D realm and beyond. Whatever they are and whatever it is from 4D. So to get into 3D, you need to be 3D. Now, they're not 3D. They're whatever it is, but they're formless. I imagine it's a non-physical realm that they come from. So they need a physical presence, which is where I think it came in that they've got these ships that they just probably 3D print, a very, very advanced form of 3D printing, that they can traverse the 3D world, which must be really tricky for a non-physical entity. So I think they've left these ships here for us to find, loads and loads of different countries. And I think they've left these EBEs, is biological entities, which aren't extraterrestrial, I don't believe. It's not terrestrial. There is no, it's non-physical. But I think they've left these bodies and they've left these ships. Maybe they've even done it to help the narrative that the government have spun. But I think what we're being told and what these people are being told, like Tom DeLonge and he's Above the Stars, or whatever it's called, and even Lou Elizondo, although I think he's a bit of a fucking shyster as well, Stephen Greer, George Knapp, all these people that have been doing this for a while, and Ross Coulthard, definitely, they're buying it. They're drinking the fucking Kool-Aid. I don't believe that what they're being told and what they're telling us or what they're hinting at has anything to do with the actual story. I believe that the whole thing is based on consciousness, and consciousness, therefore, is beyond the 3D realm. So UFOs and aliens and all the rest of it, and any reason why they would be here or show their presence initially. And I think some of the things that you've seen in the sky over the years have been of different, a non-Earth origin. But I think a lot of them have been reverse engineering these things that do not crash. They don't fucking crash. They're probably presented here. But I think Tom DeLonge is probably means what he's saying, and all of the experts that he's working with mean what they're saying, but what they're saying is bullshit. It's been structured. So no, I can't read this stuff because I feel bad for these people that aren't doing any more diligence. They're not investigating any more in the common story, the typical thread that everyone goes through. E.T. in a spaceship from a planet. I mean, yeah, I'm sure that, they need to operate on some other planets to operate within the 3D spectrum. But the fact that we're just trapped in this 3D spectrum, we can't even get out. We're missing the whole picture. We can't even envisage the whole picture. But I do believe that we all work from consciousness. And I think if there's any biological entities, they're working from the same consciousness, and it's nothing to do with how we view time, space, and anything like that. That wasn't even a long story cut short, was it? It was just a long story long. But I can go a lot deeper into what I think it is, why we see what we see. But I won't bother because, what I've said is probably going to confuse a lot of people, and rightly so. But yeah, everything you're told basically by experts is bullshit.